I just want to say, I recall you saying last week that this is your favorite part because it's the meditational path.
Oh yeah.
I recall you saying that, and I just was sitting here thinking, I'm like, somehow this is going to be exactly what I need right now. So I'm looking forward.
Our fingers crossed.
So too.
Thank you for being here. We definitely appreciate you. Anybody else with questions or comments? All right, can somebody or somebody's refresh us on what we talked about last week?
I can start us off, sure. So last week was right livelihood. It's the third and final in the morality path. It's about how we make our money. Pardon me, how we make our living, how we make our money. It's our connection to the community, as well as one's outlet and expression to demonstrate right speech and right actions on a community level.
All right. Anybody else with anything to add?
I can add more. I've been studying.
Okay, go ahead.
So, as I said before, it is our expression to demonstrate right speech and right action on a community level, whereas normally we might express this to one-on-one or in small groups or families and friends and collectives, whereas right livelihood is on a vast level, which is the next step up from right speech and right action, because we have access to a larger, we have access to a vast amount of people. So it's about ensuring that by choosing our livelihood, we want to choose a livelihood that ensures that we're making a living that doesn't harm ourselves or others.
Excellent. That was a great recap. I can tell you've been studying. We definitely appreciate that. Instructors, did you have anything to say before we got started?
No, I don't. Peace, everybody.
Peace, instructor.
I don't either.
Peace, instructor Nathan.
Peace and love, Salam too.
Okay, I'm going to help you with that so that you get it. It's salamatu, but because we're family, you can just say salama.
Okay, cool. I appreciate it, Salama.
You got it. I appreciate you.
All right. Well, if nothing else, we can go ahead and get started. All right. So this week we are talking about right effort, and right effort is the first of 3 in the meditative path. So we already talked about the wisdom path, which was right views and right intention or right thought, and then the path of morality, which was right. Let me go. And so, right effort, yeah, right speech, right action, and right livelihood is the path of morality. And then this is the path of meditation, or the meditative path. And one thing to say about that is that the path itself is a wheel. So, if you think of a wheel, or like, a bicycle tire, it has different spokes. So no one spoke is more important than the other one, and is not a ladder where each one necessarily depends on any other one. It's a wheel, it's all equal. So, once we get to the end, you'll see how the last one and the first one kind of tie into each other as well. So just keep that in mind when we're doing this, but you can also see how all of them kind of relate to each one, and they're all important in their own right. So just keep that in mind. So I normally start off with what the Buddha actually said about what right effort is, and then we can break it down. And I was going to say, in studying this one, it was a little bit more difficult than the other ones to kind of wrap my mind around and present it in a succinct way. So definitely going to do my best. So what he actually said, they asked him, and what is right effort? He said, it's when a mendicant, which we can also say a monk or anybody who is like on the path, generates enthusiasm. And I'm going to say some cuss words here, but this is what he actually said. Generates enthusiasm, tries, makes an effort, exerts the mind, and strives so that bad, and this is also going to be broken down into 4 parts. So this is the first one. Strive so that bad, unskillful qualities don't arise. They generate, this is going into the second one. They generate enthusiasm, try, make an effort, exert the mind, and strive so that, number 2, unskillful qualities that have arisen are given up. This is the start of number 3. They generate enthusiasm, try, make an effort, exert the mind, and strive so that skillful qualities arise. And then this is the start of the 4th one. They generate enthusiasm, try, make an effort, exert the mind, and strive so that, this is number 4, skillful qualities that have arisen remain, are not lost, but increase, mature, and are completed by development. This is called right effort. That's what the Buddha said about it. So, and I'll repeat the main 4 takeaways from that, because I know it probably sounded convoluted. And once you get to reading the teachings of the Buddha, which he actually has somewhere around 82,000 teachings, but you'll see that it's very repetitive. But I would surmise that it's repetitive so that it can stick in the mind, and 2, so that it won't be subject to people's interpretation. Like everything, if you read the stuff, is like very straightforward. It's not metaphysical. It's not anything like that. This is what it is. So going back, the 4 parts of right effort are to prevent the arising of unskillful states. Number 2, giving up the unskillful states that have arisen. Number 3 is causing skillful states to arise. And number 4 is basically to increase or maintain the wholesome states that have already arisen. Anybody have any questions or comments so far? Everything making sense?
Wow. I think,
Second time.
can, can you repeat that the second time?
Yep, yeah. We're gonna go into it. This is
Okay.
just kind of like the overview and
Okay.
basically exactly what he said. Verbatim.
Okay.
So I'll go through it one more time. So, and what is right effort? It is when the mendicant generates enthusiasm, tries, makes an effort, exerts the mind, and strives so that bad, unskillful qualities don't arise. They generate enthusiasm, try, make an effort, exert the mind, and strive so that unskillful qualities that have arisen are given up. They generate enthusiasm, try, make an effort, exert the mind, and strive so that skillful qualities arise. And they generate enthusiasm, try, make an effort, exert the mind, strive so that skillful qualities that have arisen remain, are not lost, but increase, mature, and are completed by development. This is called right effort.
Okay.
Uh, what makes something skillful or unskillful?
Yeah, we're gonna go right into that. Getting ahead of me.
My bad, my bad.
Nah, you're all good. Yeah, we're gonna definitely go into that. So I just want you all to kind of wrap your minds around that part first. So to give an example, the best example that I heard slash came up with was that this whole thing is basically like you looking at your mind like a garden. So your mind is, barren because we haven't really been, um, cultivating anything up until the point that you started meditation or the discipline. So, we just pretty much been just doing whatever. So first, um, if you look at the very first one, we we have unskillful qualities that we don't want to arise. So that's basically like taking the garden and putting fertilizer in it. Because I mean not fertilizer, but like basically like weed killer or something that prevents negative things from coming in. So we'll say like yeah, just like weed killer or whatever else that they use to kill things that we don't want. And then the second part is the unskillful things that have arisen. We want to give them up. So that's basically like picking the weeds out, right? Because they already are here, but we want to give them up. So we take the weeds out. And then the third part is we want skillful qualities to arise. So that's like planting the seeds, right? Because we want those things to come up in our garden. And then the fourth one is making sure the skillful qualities that do arise, we don't lose them. So it's like if your garden has sprouted, we prune the leaves and basically take care of the garden so that we don't lose the good things that we already have. Does that example make sense?
Oh my goodness, that's perfect way to describe it. A garden.
Yes.
I was just about to say the same thing. That was a great way of describing it. It helps a whole lot.
Yeah, that was like the best example that I could think of.
It's perfect.
Anybody else got any questions or comments so far? Okay. So remember that I said a lot of these are found in other ones. So right intention is also found in this right effort. So right intention is the factor that directs the mind, and right effort is the energy that energizes the mind. So another example is that it can be compared to a steering wheel and a carburetor in a car. So the steering wheel determines the direction of movement, and the carburetor burns the fuel to supply the energy, and they both contribute to the actual movement of the car. Does that make sense?
Wait,
So I just want to make sure the steering wheel is the mind in this
The
analogy, and the
steering
uh,
wheel is
uh,
right intention.
right
can you repeat
intention.
that
Okay.
again? Can you
Yep,
repeat that again?
yep. So right intention is the factor that directs the mind. So it tells the mind where to go. And then right effort is the energy that you use to energize or move forward with the right intention. So it can be compared to the steering wheel and the carburetor of a car. The steering wheel determines the direction of movement, and the carburetor burns the fuel to supply the energy, but both contribute to the actual movement of the car. The right intention is
Makes
like
sense.
telling you where to go, and then the energy that you use to get from point A to point B is right effort.
Wow. Okay. Got it.
Makes sense?
Yes. Yes, instructor.
All right, anybody got any questions or comments so far? Anything anybody want to add? All right. If nobody wants to add anything, so I know you asked what were the unskillful quality or unwholesome qualities, and the unskillful qualities or unwholesome qualities would be greed, hatred or anger, and ignorance. Those are the unskillful things that we don't want to come up. And then the skillful qualities are loving kindness, compassion, and sympathetic joy. And sympathetic joy is just joy in other success. So like the opposite of jealousy would be sympathetic joy. I actually drew a thing. I'm not sure if it's backwards for y'all. Is it backwards?
No, it's straight. This is correct.
Okay. So if you can see that, that's basically what we talked about.
Can we get a snapshot of it and put it in the comments so then a way we could save it for later? I'm
Yeah,
thinking I'm missing something. Oh, no, it's not.
yeah. If you just type in
Thank you.
the 4 right exertions, it'll come up on. Yeah, I'm not really proficient with Blue Jeans, but if I could, I would share the screen. But I just type it in the chat. You could just Google it, and then it's a picture that'll come up.
Sweet, thank you.
Yep, no problem. But basically, what it says is that if we have an unwholesome state of mind that is not arisen, we want to prevent that. If it's an unwholesome state of mind that has arisen, we want to abandon it. If we have a wholesome state of mind that is unarisen, we want to arouse that. And if we have a wholesome state of mind that has arisen, we want to maintain it. So it's kind of like a roadmap for the mind. It kind of tells you where to go. But the biggest piece of it is like being present. So just actually being in a state where you can take an objective view of what's going on in the mind, and from there it'll tell you where to go. So if you are having greed, anger, ignorance. Those are things we want to abandon. And the thing is that, with pretty much all emotions, one is temporary. So, we often talk about it in class, but, they only last for 3 to 5 seconds. So if it lasts any longer than that, then it's a decision to be angry or mad or upset. But physiologically, that feeling is came and gone already. So anything more than 3 to 5 seconds, you're holding on to it. And at that point, it's a decision to be mad. It's a decision to be upset. And the idea behind right effort and pretty much the meditative path in general is to be aware of those states, know that they are temporary, and know that it's just a bodily sensation that arises. And you have a say so in what happens with that bodily sensation. Do you give into it? Do you feed it? Or do you let it go because it's not serving you? And that's a big piece of right effort, is the effort to do what's necessary to get to these particular mental states. So do you use the limited effort that you have, or the limited energy that you have, to feed these things, or do you abandon them and use that energy in another way? Any questions or comments?
That's really interesting, the whole 3 and 4 seconds, because we all have experienced that. And there's that time where you get to the point where you start to, learn learn as far as right view goes, and you recognize that when it's 3 to 4 seconds, and you say, oh, this should last only 3 to 4 seconds, and if it's lasting anymore, what's feeding it is the decision, and the decision comes from that ego. And the ego is saying, well, I have a right to be upset because this and that. And so this and that is all the food, that feeds it. And so it's interesting because before, when there was a non knowing of that, it's just like you really believe that you have this right. You really believe that it's valid. You really can't stop. It's like you try, but you like, and I know it's a curse word, but it goes along with the whole act. It's like you're just like, but I have the right. I have the right. And the more you say I have the right, the more energy that you're spending, the more food you're feeding this thing, the ego itself. So it's interesting. That's very interesting. And I recall when I came to that moment where I had that realization that no, I'm actually giving it food with this so-called reason and right.
That's a great analogy and a great recognition that it is just ego. Because again, we talked about before, but the ego is going to justify whatever just so that it can be right. So no matter what it is, it's going to find some type of reason or justification to say, I'm right, and to feel good. And remember, that's a part of the Four Noble Truths, is that we want to hold on to the pleasurable feelings and have aversion to things that feel negative. And that's a part of that, is being wrong. Like, you don't want to be wrong because it doesn't feel good, which goes right back to suffering. And that's excellent. And again, like you said, it's all just the ego playing tricks.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Got anything instructor said?
No, I was just over here thinking, Just thinking about discipline. That's what I hear. Just being disciplined. And again, another thing I hear is just the middle way again. It's just the middle way, the right effort. You don't want to give too little effort, and you don't want to give too much. It's just the middle way. Again, just like training, if I'm picking up this, I have my mouse right here from my computer, I'm going to use the right effort. I mean, just to put it in simplistic terms of effort, I'm not going to grab it and pick it up and lift it way up. I'm just going to grab it just enough what I need and use just the amount of energy that I need to move it. It's just training too. Training is the same way.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. That's two things. So it's exactly training, because if anybody has broken a board or attempted to break a board, is exactly spelled out right there. Because if you don't put enough effort or energy into it, it won't break. And if you do too much, it still won't break. So you got to find that right balance or right effort to break the board. And another thing is that uh, in studying this, um, often a parable comes up where I can't remember the person's name, but he wanted to attain enlightenment. So he was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna meditate, and study, and really, really like put forth effort." And in doing that for so long, he wasn't getting anywhere. So he was about to give up, and he told Buddha, like, I'm about to give up. I've been doing all of this stuff, and I'm not getting anywhere. I'm not, becoming enlightened. And he asked him, like, I know you play the lute, like basically a guitar. And he said, yeah. And he was like, so if you have your lute and you make the strings too tight, would you be able to play it? Like, would you be able to make music? And he said no, like, because it won't give the right sound. Then he said, conversely, if you have the lute and you have the strings too loose, would you be able to play it? And he said no, its strings are too loose. Again, they won't make the right sound. And he said it takes the right amount of tension to be able to play a song. And so, once given that analogy, he implemented the right effort and became one of the best disciples that Buddha had. It's all about the balance or the middle way, like you said. Not doing too much, but not doing too little either. Because either one causes suffering again.
And I just want to clarify what I meant by discipline. Pretty much the chart you put up. Just the mindfulness of being disciplined enough to put that into action. Without getting too deep on it. I'm always concerned about getting too far ahead. I don't know what your plans are.
Oh no, I didn't have too much more though, so you can go in. And I figured out a way to share the screen too. So while you're doing that, I'm gonna bring up this.
No, that's pretty much it. Just dealing with discipline. And again, training is the perfect vehicle to understand right effort. Not
Right.
giving, not giving too much.
The perfect vehicle for a whole lot of things.
Yeah, right. Anybody else have anything, any thoughts, any comments, questions?
So it makes me think about work, like what I do for a living, right? So I'm not trying to, I am helping my client. I'm sorry, it's noisy in my background. I'm helping someone get past. Let's say they have a knot in their shoulder or like that, and with them practice, you know, but then they really don't want it. I have to find ground between getting the
Is it me?
pressure
I can't hear you at
and
all.
getting.
You breaking up for me too.
Me too.
The last thing I heard
Is that
was
better?
a knot in the shoulder.
Oh, is this better?
Yep.
Okay, so you have a knot in your rhomboid or in your traps, and some people will say they want a deep tissue, but then when you actually apply,
You went out again.
how about now? Yes,
Yeah.
now?
Last thing I heard was when you actually apply, and then it went out again.
Okay, so when you actually apply pressure, they might say it's too much. So it's finding that medium between giving them the right amount of pressure to assist with alleviating that knot or the pain that they have. You don't want to put too much, and you don't want it to be on the lesser end. Does that make sense? Or should I say it another way? I don't know. Maybe it's
That makes sense.
okay. Thank you. Because I think when the phone broke up a couple of times, it took the whole thought that I had right out the window.
We got it, and that's the big piece of this entire Eightfold Path is that you take it and then you apply it to whatever you do. So it's not like it's stuck in a box where it only looks like this. It looks like however it needs to look.
Okay. Thank you.
And thank you. We appreciate you. Somebody else?
Can you guys hear me? I'm at work, so it might be like bad signal.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Um, so I was wondering if, because the emotions piece stuck out to me with the, it only lasts for 3 to 5 seconds. Does that apply to pain as well? Because when I heard it, I automatically, I took it and applied it to a lot of things in life, as far as like how I handle my emotions and things, but it also kind of stood out for me too, as far as Marshall, when we are commentating or exchange, like if we get hit or something like that, and if we choose to sit in that pain and we get upset or we are frustrated when we are not performing as well as we should, and in that, I think it becomes a detriment to our growth on the floor because we are so stuck on what we could have done better in the floor practice or what we could have done better in the kumite or in the exchange instead of just taking each one as a mistake. It only lasted for 3 to 5 seconds and moving on because each blow is an exchange and it only lasts for just in that moment. So that's kind of what stood out for me. But hearing that, um, I can take that and apply it so much in life because I never knew that emotions only last for 3 to 5 seconds, and that everything else is by choice what we hold on to. And I know that all of our emotions are things that we hold on to. I just didn't know that it was such a short period of time and how much suffrage we are causing for ourselves.
Yeah, that's a good point. I just want to underline in there, what's 3 to 5 seconds is the biological or the physiological response in your body. That's what's 3 to 5 seconds. So if I get hit, I'll have that physical trauma that can last for days. but my physiological response in my brain to that, I guess, to those emotions, that only lasts 3 to 5 seconds. And if I'm still stuck on, oh, my chest hurting, I can't function, Kimmy is roundhousing me to death, all that, I'm carrying that now. And I can choose to carry it or I can choose to let it go. And I'll still have the pain sensations, but depending on where my focus is, they won't be so loud. That makes sense, Kimmy? Lost you.
Instructor,
Yes, sir.
my attention got pulled for 1 split second. Did you say something about an injury could last 3 to 5 weeks? Did you say that?
No, I was just saying the physiological response in my brain lasts 3 to 5 seconds.
Right.
And so the injury, if I get hit, that trauma, that physical trauma can last longer. I mean, depending on the injury.
Copy that. Okay. I just wanted to make sure I heard that.
And I don't know if you have anything on that, Keith.
Basically, I was gonna say exactly what you said, and just add on one other piece, is that it also goes back to the Four Noble Truths, in that a lot of what I heard is self-inflicted suffering caused by expectations, i.e., thirst that we talked about, or desire, and in that you are causing suffering for yourself to say that things should be this way or things shouldn't be this way. I shouldn't get hit or I should be doing better. Like, a lot of these should and shouldn'ts that we hold so dear are actually another trick of the ego. There is nothing that should be or shouldn't be anyway. It just is. And the sooner we can recognize and realize that, the easier life will be. Because a lot of things just are. It's not a should or a shouldn't.
Wow. So that's why I said that I knew this was going to be what I needed, because in the last 2 weeks, week and a half, 2 weeks, I've been, I've been doing this. I should be at this level. I should be really kind of frustrated with myself in Kimpo. And I'm like, I'm there every time they open a door. So like, I should have this. I should be at this level. I should have broken a board by now. I should have this. I should have that. Right. And then I had to like stop for a moment and be like, okay, stop. Like, what is it? Like, take a moment. Like, maybe your should is just, you should dial it back. Just dial it back. Dial it back to the basics. I've been getting in with the green and purple belts, very appreciative to them, allowing me to get in there with them and practice with them, and having patience with me. And I just was like, okay, you know what? I need to dial it back. And I noticed Instructor Vaughn was doing this more of a, complex breath workshop with the newer belts. And so I was like, all right, I need to get back into that. That's where it is. That's where it is for me. I need to get my breath. I don't even have my breath. And I'm over here like, learning new blows, learning new things, but I don't have my breath. Where's my breath? What can you do with blows without a breath? And so I dialed it back and I started being with them. And the other day, it was the first day I went back and just got into the breath workshop. And that was my first board I broke. And I did it on the first try or the first attempt. And it was because I just dialed it back to the basics. And I wasn't like, even though I appreciate working with the higher belts, and I don't want to stop that, but I dialed it back so that I would abandon the expectations in my head, in the comparison in my head next to the higher belts, and I just let myself be exactly where I was. So to talk about, overdoing it, just getting back to the middle way. So yeah.
Yeah, that was great. Yeah, we're happy to be a witness to that. And yeah, that'll be, I would say, a big hindrance in training to say I should be this or I shouldn't be that. And
You're going out.
sorry about that. I was saying that those should and shouldn'ts could be a big hindrance in training. And
I I didn't hear anything. Okay.
I can hear you fine. I think that's on your end,
yeah,
Salam.
just turn the
Oh,
video
okay.
on,
Okay.
or
Okay.
put yours on mute.
Okay.
I was also going to say that that's what made Instructor Jawad, which is our instructor, our chief instructor here in Detroit, but that's what made him so good and so powerful, was that he was never attached to his performance. Like, he never wanted to be good, so to speak, or never wanted to be the best. And he just trained in the moment. And in that, he became the number one student of our grandmaster. And if anybody, knows him or witnessed him, like, he was phenomenal. But he was so phenomenal because he wasn't attached to being good. He just trained.
Yeah. I can imagine that in that moment when I broke the board, I literally felt my ego completely leave. It was like I didn't it's I mean, obviously breaking a board is something, the feeling of it, the experience is like no other the first time you do that. And that's what it was. It was just like I got out of my head and I just went into through the board, literally through the board.
Excellent. Yeah, I'm glad you did that. Somebody else? Questions, comments? Dr. Arkul, you got any? Okay. Go
I
ahead.
got I got a few comments, thoughts, and questions. I kind of look at ego. We talk a lot about ego, and I'm interested in what do you view the in your life the purpose of ego? How do you see it? Because to me, it's like an antagonist in my life story, and it plays an antagonist role. So I'm just trying to see, like, how do you view ego? Because it has a purpose. We know that. What is the purpose of ego ultimately?
I'll
I
let
feel
somebody answer before I go.
Yeah, I say my opinion on ego is it's almost like a training aid, so we here to experience and learn from those experiences, but it would be I wouldn't say easy, but it would be much less difficult without the ego, like you said, being that antagonist. And yeah, it's almost like the Macaraya board and training aid, man. It's my opinion on it.
I love that. That's great.
Yeah, I can feel that answer. Thank you.
I'm going to say real simply, to protect you.
You're
In
gonna have
their
to give me more than
Ooh.
retirement.
that. You're gonna have to give me some more than that.
Ooh,
Break that
go
down.
in. Go in.
Um, in most instances, um, it protects you. What is ego? An example of ego is embarrassment. You're embarrassed, that's ego. So that is your ego protecting you from those embarrassing situations. That's just one, again, basic, simple example. Does that make sense? I don't know if that does it for you.
Yeah, I can understand what you're talking about. I can get that.
Ego is about taking care of you, about survival. I think it was Keith who said it one time that ego is what allows you to eat the food when you're starving, like instead of giving it away to someone else who's starving. Does that make sense? Ego is about the self.
In a paradoxical way, it does. I know what you're saying. I mean, but yeah, that's the truth, though. Like,
So
Wait,
am I making
wait,
paradoxical? Let me see.
wait.
How
What
If
if
you're
you share the food?
say
What if you
again? I
share
didn't.
the food?
I said, what if you share the food if you're both starving? Is that still ego?
No, no. What if it's not enough though? It's you, your husband, and your kids, and there's food is limited, and there's a lot of people. How do you deal with that? So ego is what
So
helps
strictly
you take
self.
care of
Yeah,
yourself.
got it.
Yeah, I
I
was
still
gonna say
still don't
that.
think it's clear. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's a little bit different from the actual quote. The actual quote is that ego is what allows you to put food in your mouth versus putting food in somebody else's mouth.
Okay,
So
good.
it'll be a different take on it, but kind
Mhm.
of like the same idea.
but
That
I
was
get when
I
Instructor
want
Cedric. Am I understand this, Instructor Cedric? Because I view ego, our true self. We exist in the now. I view ego as, the past or future. And while we can't exist in those, it does help center us to some degree. It's like I look at it sometimes as the west and east to the north, in a sense.
Exactly. I like to view ego as an outside view of myself. So like you said, past, future. So it's not necessarily antagonistic. It can be, but I don't want you to paint it in a broad stroke like ego
Yeah,
is bad, because it's not. Ego is what allows us to enjoy our victories. So we have to instead of being so caught up in the moment, we have to get in ego and say, man, I did something great. I graduated from college. I need to enjoy that moment.
yeah,
The balance is, or the middle way is, don't get caught up in that.
okay.
Get back to the moment and get back on the path. So
So,
I
so is
I,
ego
I want
like
go ahead.
is ego like you're walking down your path and you look back and you kind of reflect on it, and you recollect, and you have some nostalgia, moments of pride, and then also ego is looking forward to that perceived mountaintop, and then the now is looking back down towards the feet and taking one step after the other.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So what's negative about that?
Got you.
When it's not the middle way, when it's in excess, when
Okay.
it
Yeah.
causes suffering.
Yeah.
I wanted to say ego is absolutely tied to survival. Ego
Yeah,
is is tied to the will. Ego is that driving force, you know, to get up out the bed every day and to attack the day and not be victim to the day or succumb. I see ego. It gets that bad reputation because it can get out of check and it can lead you over the edge, like Instructor just said, when it's out of harmony. But ego is absolutely critical for us to continue to move forward day in and day out and to overcome adversity. It's a driving force. It's a will. It's tied to will. It's tied to survival.
Mm.
Uh, and that's my viewpoint on it.
that's good stuff. That's better stated than I said it. I like the survival aspect of it.
I think of controlling your ego as kind of like walking a dog. Um, like if you hold it I mean, if you just let it go completely, it can run off, go and bite somebody, or you just lose your dog. And you have to know, like, just to keep the balance, how to give it enough room so you're not choking it, but also making sure that you're still in control and that the dog is not walking you or leading you when you're the one supposed to be controlling it.
You always come with the best examples.
Right. I was just like, I was talking about
Right?
me. She the analogy queen.
Appreciate it.
I love
So,
it. The
Bird, I
dog
just
just
looked at.
going and biting somebody. The ego going and biting somebody. How many times the ego done bit somebody? Shoot.
Yeah, bit
All
you.
the
How many times
Yeah,
has
but I
it bit
said
you?
it bites you. Yeah.
Yeah.
We
So,
have
a
all
bird.
been
I,
bit by an ego.
I looked up a definition. I'm sorry. I don't know if somebody was saying something.
You
It's
good.
clear.
Okay. I said, the part of the mind that mediates between the conscious and unconscious and is responsible for reality testing and a sense of personal identity. So that's perfect. This is
That's hot right there.
that's
That's
the
Yeah.
dictionary definition. I just looked it up.
that's a heavy line there, baby. That's good.
Yeah, you may want to drop
Yeah.
that in the chat.
Okay, yep.
And we talked about survival when Instructor Aku was talking about survival, even our kid, our offspring, because me, I was questioning my ego, how my ego plays in my parenting and how I view my relationship with my son and my wants and desires for them, because, in a sense, that's a projection of myself into the future, which is an ego-centered kind of, or not ego-centered, but, it's egotistical in a way. But it's also necessary for survival, to think that way, to want to put yourself into the future, if that makes sense.
Yeah, yep. Something else that came up for me in reading that definition is it's what separates us from the collective.
Right. And that's exactly where I was going with it, is that ego is you, but is very, it's almost like a feedback loop. Like, like if you take a
Yeah.
what you call it, a power power surge or surge protector, and you take the plug and you put it back into itself. Like me, that's kind of what it is, like just a loop, because you need ego in order to attain enlightenment. But when you attain enlightenment, you become a part of the collective. So it's like, it's a flip flop. Like, you need it for survival, but the survival is you surviving as you. But you have to shed the ego in order to get enlightenment, because you need to become a part of the collective. So it's basically a feedback loop.
Makes sense. Yeah.
Facts.
So basically, life is an ego trip, and we just have to remember that we're the captain of that ship, right? Otherwise, ego will just be getting us bit by dogs and biting people and so on.
Yeah, you got to know when to get off the ego train, because
Yeah.
it's going towards enlightenment, but it's not going to get you there. You got to get off.
Right. There's two examples. One, they often use this example, but basically they say that if you need to cross a river, you take a boat, but you don't take the boat out of the water and carry the boat with you, because you're, happy that the boat was able to get you across the river. You take the boat across the river and you leave the boat once you get across. And that's the same thing as the ego. Like, it gets you only so far, and then at some point you got to leave it behind.
That's
Oh,
a powerful
see,
example right
yeah.
there. That's
That is
great.
dope.
Wow.
It serves the same purpose as the body for the soul. It's a vehicle,
Ooh,
and we're using this whole body just to get us back to the, our soul spiritual realm.
All
Ooh.
right, Bird. All right.
Oh, that's
All
hot.
right now.
Y'all
That
just
Y'all
that
know
made
was
these
that
a good
thing
calls.
one.
Y'all
make
be
sense.
having, y'all bring up so many great thoughts. It's just y'all put stuff in a way that just explains so much. Thank you.
Y'all made that make sense. I just took the ego out the boogeyman spot. I know that.
Yeah, this was one other example that I heard that was pretty good with that. Um, basically, having an ego is like you are directing a movie, but in reality, you are the actors, you're the producer, you're the director, you're the sound person, you are the screen in which the movie is playing on, you are the entire thing. But the ego is what relegates you to one position in the entire film. So losing the ego, you now become the all, the collective, which is what you really are anyway. You just are playing a joke on yourself by thinking that you are one small piece in the whole.
Yeah, that is the paradox of finding that harmony between your individualized self and the collective.
Right.
You are individualized expression of it, but you are still part of the collective. You're not separated from it.
And it's funny
Would
that
this
you said that. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
would this have to do with a conversation such as altruism, possibly? Can we connect these all together? Would this connect with
It's definitely in there.
okay.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's equal, but it's in there.
Okay.
But
Okay.
what I was gonna say was that everything is full circle. But I want to say like the first class that I could ever remember at the 36th chamber, we talked about meditation, and it was just me and Instructor Jawad. Nobody else was there because I went to the morning class, and he explained meditation, and he gave me the analogy of you go into the Detroit River, you take a glass, you scoop up some of the Detroit River, and you put Kool-Aid in there. So he said that glass with the Kool-Aid in it is you, but you are still the Detroit River. You just have Kool-Aid. And he was saying that meditation is what allows you to reconnect to the Detroit River, so to speak. Like you lose the glass, and that's meditation. And that was the very first class that I ever remember taking at 36.
Mind blowing.
Seriously.
Oh, oh boy.
He got away with being the master teacher always.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially about the metaphysical stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Anybody else have any questions or comments? I'm gonna go down the list. Kim, you have anything? I guess I'll take that as a no. Instructor Aku, you got anything?
No, sir. I'm good, man. I'm glad I caught the end of that and was able to have some more light shed on the proper view uh, of ego and the role it plays. Another great class, instructors. Thank you.
Thank you. Definitely appreciate you being here. Ben, you got anything for us?
Nope, I'm also glad I caught the class. Uh, some great takeaways, and that's something I battle with ego every day, and I feel like I'm getting close to finding that middle ground. So today gave some great insight for sure. Just stand there.
Right. Yeah. That's the thing for you. So whenever you deviate from the path, gotta get back.
Brother, you're not alone, just for the record.
Right. And this,
Amen and amen again.
I was going to say, this idea of right effort is specifically for you.
Thank you. I appreciate y'all.
We appreciate you. Bert, you got anything?
No, that was like I said, the breakdown of ego really helped, and really understanding what right effort is and what it looks like. I was, while y'all were talking, I was letting it kind of manifest in my mind what right effort looks like, and that, the way y'all broke it down between the skilled and unskilled and what that actually means helps me. So it's just, helps me to drop those, like in Kumite, unnecessary movements, drop those unnecessary movements that are not bringing me the desired result.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you. Hey, we got to get your classmates here.
Yeah, I'll ping them next time.
CJ, you got anything?
I just really enjoyed the lesson in the class. Having right effort broke down to the 4 components really helped me, because I think sometimes I fixate on being mad that it's weeds in my garden, or feeling like I must not have had right effort for there to be weeds in the garden. And so that realization that, okay, we work to prevent those type of things, but when they're not prevented, it's also right effort when you just put in the work to get rid of those things, and to also take the time to not lose the things that aren't already cultivated but are there and are still positive. So that was really enlightening. I also enjoyed the ego conversation, because coming from a psychological standpoint, we're taught ego as something completely different. Well, not completely different, but someone different. So we're taught that there's an id, an ego, and a super ego. Your super ego being the part of you that wants to be quote unquote morally perfect, like the part that's always like do good. The id is the basic survival part, and the ego is the part of you that goes in between that, so that you can live your life and so that you can have like this experience. um and so that clarification that ego isn't bad was good to hear, because I think sometimes it seems like it gets a bad rep, where I don't think that that's the instructor's intention. I think that the intention is for us to realize that, okay, there's certain things that you do have to leave behind, and certain parts of the ego that have to be left behind for elevation or enlightenment, or getting certain skills out there. So I think that distinction and clarification was great. So I enjoyed the class today. Thank you all.
Thank you. We appreciate it. And I'm glad that you are here specifically, because I know you were in the first round of classes on the Eightfold Path. So I'm glad you get to see the evolution of, where it was before, and now, relearning it or learning it new is the difference.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's dope. It's always something. It's one of those things that, I don't know, it's like everything. Even when you become a color belt and you go back to the white belt class and you like, oh, something as basic as your palm heel, you like, wait a minute, my palm heel could be fixed with X, Y, and Z. And so seeing the evolution, like you said, and getting it again, it's beautiful and amazing to see. I definitely appreciate the effort that you guys are putting into it, so that it's always evolving and always helpful.
Thank you for that. We appreciate you. Emerson?
Yeah, I enjoyed tonight. It's really the conversation about ego, kind of like what we was talking about in the Telegram chat about is your purpose really to serve others or not? But when you get the idea that everything in this existence is literally just you, that kind of is your service is to serve other people, and your ego is just basically how you play your individual part in serving that role. So it's cool to always talk about it here, and I appreciate the lesson tonight.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Instructor said.
No, again, great class, great setup, brother. Great feedback and everything from everyone. Something that came up in this process, just thinking about ego again, people comment is I guess how do I want to say this? The negativity or downsides of ego is when it separates you from reality. You got to put it down. To put it down, you simply have to understand the reality of life. You are not separated from anything else. And you can free yourself from ego simply. So, and when you're floating in outer space, dealing with ego, you are not in reality. And like Bird put it in a past, present, future tense, you are not in the now. You're not in the moment. And when you're outside of that moment, you're dealing with ego. Not necessarily a bad thing, but just understand the reality.
That was mic drop right there. Thank you for that. Jalen, got anything?
Yeah, it was a really good session we had today. Can you hear me?
Yep.
All right, cool. And I really feel like I got a way better understanding of ego. It made me get a lot more like language to be able to explain exactly um, what ego is, and it really showing me how like you can have bad thoughts, and like how we were talking about just like good intentions, and how like a lot of the things that like we see in our everyday life puts you in kind of a state where it's kind of feeding your ego and like feeding those bad thoughts. So to have like fuel to give energy to these good thoughts and good intentions is definitely like life changing.
Sure, yep. And that's the thing too, like um these calls, classes, et cetera, are basically like the huddle. Like we come here, we huddle up, all right, this is the game plan, and then we press in call. It's like boom, all right, my bad. Woke the dogs up. But it's like, we go into the world, and that's the game. So right now we just making the plays, and the plays are the Eightfold Path, and life is the game. So I'll take that for what it's worth.
Definitely. Thank you.
So thank you. Instructor Nate, you got anything?
Yeah, just a little bit. It goes back to feeding the ego. Right effort involves constantly checking desires and cravings by conceding no amount of gratification to them. So basically, we are born with plenty of ego. As we learned tonight, it is a valuable tool, but you don't need to go fueling that ego, if you will. Like Instructor Keith brought up, that it's like a train that you're riding on, and you can get off or on that train whenever you need to, but the last thing you want to do is fuel it like crazy, because then that train will get going so fast that it'll be a nightmare to get off of, or it can be absolutely disastrous. It's just like that natal energy that we have too. We're born with plenty of it, and there's nothing we can do to feed that or take from it. But once it runs out, that's it. We die. So that ego is exactly like that. We don't need to be feeding it at all, because we can feed it, and that can actually feed the beast too, which can be incredibly disastrous when the two meet each other. So just use that ego as that tool, but do not feed it. You can get on or off that train whenever you need to.
That was an excellent analogy. Thank you. Rada?
I don't really have much to add. A lot was put on the table tonight, and it's always useful. Grateful to be here.
Thank you. Right now, sound right?
I really appreciate hearing everybody's input. It has me thinking a lot about some conversations I have been having with myself about ego. I've been thinking about how much my emotions stem from an overbearing ego. Like sometimes it seems like my ego steps in to protect me from something that happened, from feeling the same way that I felt from something that happened years ago, or like something traumatic that I didn't want to deal with or felt like I needed to be protected from. And so now I'm realizing that in those split seconds where I have an emotional response to things, I have been stopping and asking myself, like, as soon as I feel it, like, where is this coming from? Why am I feeling like this right now? And 9 times out of 10, it's because of something that happened a long time ago, and I'm just projecting it onto what I'm experiencing in that moment, if it makes sense. So, like, and when instructor said made that distinction between, like, just because you feel and experience an emotion for the first, 3 to 5 seconds doesn't mean that you've dealt with and processed that. So I've been thinking about that, actually processing things that the ego has been protecting me from, that I don't need to be protected from in this moment, and how if I don't process those things, it'll stunt my growth as Sunray or as who I am, just because it keeps getting in the way, protecting me from things that don't even exist as a threat anymore.
Yeah, that's excellent. And that's such a big piece of feelings and emotions in general. Like, they tell you um, if it's something that you want to experience again or something that you don't want to experience again. That's like a big piece of it. So, take the example of burning your hand on the stove. Like, it burns. So it tells the body that I don't want to experience that thing again. And so, the same way that we have physical feelings that tell us, what we should and shouldn't do, our internal feelings also communicate things that we want and things that we don't want, which goes right back to the Four Noble Truths, which is aversion and thirst or desire. So, great, great takeaways. I appreciate that. Rafa?
I got nothing. I enjoyed the class. I'm just soaking it all in tonight.
Ralph, I want to give you a shout out for posting that video. I didn't look at it, but I saw that you posted. That's beautiful.
Finally was able to. I had more, but it wouldn't upload, so I got something in. I was up all night trying to get it in, so.
That's what it takes. Peace.
All right. Salama?
I mean, you guys heard me all night, so I guess just to wrap up what I was, the conversation I had, like I said, the last 2 weeks have been about that, the too much effort, and then like giving too much effort and then asking, saying shoulda, woulda, coulda, and then dialing it back. And, for a minute I dialed it down and I was just low and I was too little effort. And then I just brought it to the middle way. And I'm experiencing that, and that feels good. And I want to maintain that because I do have a past habit of being extreme, extremely, one direction and then if that doesn't work, extremely in the other direction, and just bringing things to a harmony, the middle way. So like I said at the beginning of this, I knew this was going to be exactly what I needed, and it has been. I appreciate everybody's input. I appreciate the whole call.
I was gonna say for you, I challenge you to utilize the middle way in every aspect of your life. So work, home, family, all of that. Like, being outside of those two extremes, because those extremes are either causing you suffering or causing somebody else suffering. So working
Um,
on that middle way, that balance, that harmony, and really seeking that and implementing that.
right on. I accept the challenge. It's couldn't be at a better time.
Sweet. And then you can let us know how it has been going on Saturday.
Okay, I will do that. I'll do that.
The middle way is free of absolutes.
Oof. Okay. That. Thank you for that, instructor. Free of absolute. All
You're
right.
welcome.
All right, Terry, close us out.
I figured I would be the last one. um, I don't have much to add. Everyone pretty much touched on a lot of the things that I wanted to, or that I really reflected on during this call. Ego is definitely something that I struggle with finding harmony with on a daily basis. So this is definitely a great reminder and a great lesson as always. So I appreciate you, instructor, and everybody on this call. Have a good night.
Thank you. We appreciate you. Definitely want to see you back in the physical dojo. So,
I know I'm coming. Saturday, I'm coming.
yeah, sounds good. All right. Anybody else got anything before we end?
I had to just add also to the fact that like in this time, like in the past, I would have just been like run and hide and just hide from the dojo. But during that time, I was just pushing myself, just go because everything you need to face is there. So just go because, not only there in that space, but in that space it reflects back to my life. So yeah, I appreciate the space, and I appreciate the space that you all create and maintain for us.
Well, again, it's all for everybody. Um, there is no dojo without the students. Uh, you're an active part of the creation of the space and the maintenance of the space.
Ashe.
I see Paul joined. Did you have any words for us or any thoughts?
Peace and love, family. Words are that sound like y'all had a great call. I kicking myself for not setting an alarm. Thought I had it all together.
Can you speak a little bit louder?
Uh, yeah. Can you hear me?
Yeah, there you go.
I was just saying. I thought I was on. It sounded like y'all had a great call. I'm gonna wait on the YouTube and set an alarm for next week so I don't miss it again.
Okay, yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I was like, man, this when we were having the discussions, I was thinking like, man, this was right up your alley. So, think you'll enjoy it when you hear the replay.
Sure, I will.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah. If nobody has anything, oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say if anybody need a quick ego check, just hop in a cold shower for about 5 minutes.
Right? It's true.
Nice.
It's so true. That's a great. I like that, Emerson. I do that. That's like, oh, it is. It's part of my therapy in the morning. Every time I take a shower, the cold one, it sets you straight. It, humbles you. It does. It really does. It humbles you, and you can't quiver. You have to stay in it like it's hot water, and you have to enjoy it like it's hot water.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, thank y'all for that. Yeah, if nobody else has anything, we can call it a night. And I'll see you guys tomorrow in the physical dojo.
Then I throw something on the end before we get out of here.
Yep.
Just a reminder that the Eightfold Path, or the spokes on the wheel of the Eightfold Path, don't exist in and of themselves. Without one, you start to break down. So keep working. So right effort, because they're all connected, right effort goes back into everything. It goes back into right views and right thoughts and right actions. And, they're all intertwined. So you can't have one without the other. I'm just reminded of the formula for power. Same thing. They don't exist in and of themselves. It's part of a whole.
Exactly.
Don't nobody say nothing else. Cut the machine off.
But we having such a good time.
Yep. No, I know I need to shut it down. So, boy.
Me too. All right. Well, yeah. Peace, everybody. See y'all tomorrow.
Peace.
Peace,
Peace.
peace.
Peace, family. Thanks, instructors. Thanks, family. Peace.